Lucy Beaver was born October 10, 1914, while her family was traveling to a fall camp not far from Nunapitchuk. She grew up in Nunapitchuk, which was their home village when they were not in their fall or spring camps. While still a young girl, Lucy married George Beaver, who was originally from Bethel. George Beaver's great-grandmother, on the father's side, was one of the 3 old women who were the first to camp in Bethel. Hers was the first house that was built here. George and Lucy had 14 children, but 7 died. She delivered all of her children at home by herself, except for the last 2 who were delivered in the hospital. George Beaver died several years ago, leaving many grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and it is these children Lucy especially likes to sew and make things for. She also sews for her children and their spouses. Aside from her sewing, cooking, and caring for her family, Lucy's other interest is her church. She's a faithful member in the Moravian Church and is a special soloist. She sings many church hymns from memory. Lucy says she relies on God and loves to sing while sewing or preparing food.
You know those storytelling knives in the museum, the wooden ones? I realize now that I learned the art of skin sewing then by using the story knife. When I was a young girl, I dearly loved to play with the story knife. After my mother put my boots on in the morning, and after I put my parka on, I would take my story knife out, which I usually placed under the mattress every evening, and go outside. And on the fresh snow that is smooth, I would start at one end and start drawing, pretending to make muklaks, pretending to make parkas, putting down or drawing whatever I liked by using my story knife. That is how I learned about sewing, by making designs with my knife on the snow. And when I started sewing on skins, I made them like the things I drew with my story knife.
Did you have someone teaching you how to sew?
No, I didn't have anyone teaching me.
You just watched?
Yes, I just watched. One woman taught me how to make boot soles, how to sew those boot soles on. At first I sewed them badly, and I would undo what I did. And after I married, my husband used to have me sew. He'd let me sew on my own. I was a young girl then, and I enjoyed being outside. I wouldn't want to sew. And I'd cry because I hated to sew.
Do you teach any sewing now, or teach anyone how to sew?
I only tell them how, or cut out the material for them. For people who want to make the same kind of things I do, I show them how. I use paper patterns, and up to this day, people come in here and leave with paper patterns that I give them.
When you make something to sell, or when you make something for someone, Do you make them the same?
I sew things all the same. I don't think differently about any of them, whether I'm sewing something to sell or otherwise. I try to sew on them all equally well.
Even the ones you're going to sell?
The ones I'm going to sell, or something for my family, I work on them all the same way. I treat them all the same.
Which of the things you sew do you look forward to doing the most?
I like to work on things to wear on one's feet and on things to wear over the body. You know, those things that would keep a person warm, something that he could use.
Because they are useful?
Because they are useful. These are the things I like to work on more than the others. They are something to use for the body's warmth.
The way you sew. Perhaps it is not the same as the way your mother sewed. Perhaps she made different things, different items, different from the things you make now. Or perhaps she used different furs.
Yeah, she used furs, and she sometimes helped me when I first started sewing, when I first started making parkas.
How about her way of making designs? Do you make the same designs and trimmings as she did?
Yes, I do some of the things she did. I use the same decorations, but they seem to be better than hers because I have many more things to work with.
So you have more things to work with than your mother did.
Yes, I have many different items to work with.
Would you tell a little bit about how some families had their own designs or decorations?
Villages had their own designs. In some villages, they had parkas that were like the ones made in the Yukon. They talked about Yukon styles. They were the ones decorated here, around the chest. You know, they make these decorations out of calfskin, cutting them up into small pieces, geometric designs. The designs on the chest area weren't made like that, but they were just long pieces. That design is from the Yukon area. I have a finished parka here that I still have to finish with tassels. I'm making it for my daughter-in-law, Charlie's wife. They say this is a Northwest Coast style. They have a hood like this out of calfskin.
So you use that style, even though it is not your family design?
Even though it is not our family or area design, I use it because I like it. I am making these parkas for my family, decorating them like this. I'm making them for my son's wives, but I still have to make one more for the wife of the owners of these mittens. I haven't made one for her yet. I'm nearly finished making parkas for all of my daughters-in-law, and this parka is for Charlie's wife. I'll finish it after I put tassels on this other one.
So you use designs and decorations you choose, even though they are not your family designs.
I use what I like.
Perhaps in some villages their designs differ, either in this area or out in the Yukon area. Is that right?
They are different or they are not the same. Even the upriver area designs and decorations are different from this area.
Are the decorations and designs different in men's clothing?
The design or decoration on men's parkas are different. They are never the same as the women's parkas. The men's parkas are like this. That is when they have parkas that are decorated. When a man has a decorated parka, it will have a border, and on that shoulder area will be a strip of wolverine, and also on the shoulder is a piece of white calfskin. And then there are 3 wolverine tassels here, under the wolverine strip on the shoulder, and here on the breast are 2, one across the other. And down there is 1 tassel, and on the back of the parka on the lower left side is another. And on the back there is a wolverine tail, each side flanked with a tassel. They say the tassel on the lower right side is part of the one in the back. These represent pretend arrows. The arrow is shot, it goes into a person and goes through on the other side. Those people in the past used to say that this is why that decoration of a tassel was put on, this pretend arrow that was shot into a man.
How about children's parkas?
The children's parkas, the little boys' parkas, were also like that. They were like the men's.
You mentioned that certain furs were used by men in the past. Is that right?
Yeah.
Those duviali, or what are they again? Muskrats? Would you tell about that?
Those muskrats, you call them duvulit, but we call them ganaklit. Different villages have different terms for some things. That village says duvuli, and in another village they'll say ganaklit.
The back fur was used for men's parka?
The back fur of the muskrat, the men's parkas were made out of them, and the women only the belly fur.
One probably sews skins differently according to what kind each is.
Some skins are very difficult to sew on, and these reindeer leg skins are very hard to prepare or soften. The leg skins are especially hard to do. We work very hard using these scrapers to work on those legs, the reindeer skins, to prepare them. We work very hard sweating to do 2 legs. That is why I tell them, others don't like to buy muklaks made out of reindeer legs because they know how hard it is to work on them. But even though they are hard to work on, I work on them because I get some benefit from my work. I use these scrapers to prepare them.
Kuya, kuya. Right.